Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher. Let's walk you through a 10-game slate, the first big slate we've had in a while, and there's a ton of questionable tags on it, a ton of big-name questionable tags on it.
Mhm.
So with me to talk it through is Mike Gallagher. Mike, how are you on this Wednesday?
Pretty good. Yeah, this is probably the most questionable impact slate of the year. Feels like with these huge names. Luca got updated. But yeah, there's a whole lot of moving parts, man. If you're going to play tonight, you got to be locked and loaded for the evening.
Yeah, one of those late season slates, big names, lots of movement, big slate. Let's get into it. Questionable tags. You mentioned Luka getting upgraded to probable. Let's start with him and Kyrie Irving, who are both on the injury report today. Kyrie Irving listed questionable. Tim Hardaway Jr. listed questionable as well. What are your thoughts on availability for the Mavericks tonight as they face the Warriors?
Yeah, so we've been waiting for Luca to get upgraded for a little bit. We saw him practice almost a full week ago, and they've been ruling him out pretty early here. So yeah, sounds like he's ready to go. Would expect probably not full minutes as far as like Luca playing, 38, 39. We see Kid put him at 40 sometimes. But yeah, I think he's got a shot for, low 30s, something along those lines. We'll see if he has to manage this thing. Certainly something he's been playing through. We're just getting the Hawks report now. DeJounte's getting ruled out. We'll talk about that later. Um, but yeah, should be back. Obviously, he'll be starting. Kyrie in a walking boot after Dylan Brooks stepped on his foot. So he seems to have probably the lowest chance to play, which is interesting. So we've seen Maxi Kleber start, but I think that was largely because of rebounding. Luca, he's a point guard on offense, but he guards a lot of forwards on defense. So and he's a pretty good rebounder as well. So I think kind of low key, Kleber is affected by Luca a little bit more than say Kyrie is, and Kyrie will be affecting Kleber. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kleber doesn't start and they do start Tim Hardaway Jr. Of course, if they don't have Tim Hardaway Jr., then that would make it a little more likely. But I think we're going to see Josh Green and Bullock probably starting either way, depending on the iterations of Kyrie. So, um, yeah, so the candidates would be it's basically Tim Hardaway Jr. or Kleba, if Kyrie's out. And then if Kyrie's in, which maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but walking boot 2 days ago is not a good sign. Could be Luca, Kyrie. I think Josh Green's got this job, especially against the Warriors. Need as much on-ball defense as you can get, and then Reggie Bullock with Dwight Powell at center.
Do you think Luca's potential return impacts the ascension of Christian Wood that we've seen over the last few games? What are your expectations for Christian Wood from a playing time perspective tonight?
Yeah, his minutes were getting cut before this whole injury thing happened. He's playing like upper teens, even mid teens sometimes. But yeah, he also is in that Cleveland bucket, right? Like Luca's a really good rebounder. He plays a lot of 4-on defense, especially in this matchup where you don't want to go too big. That's a pretty funky defensive fit if you're playing Luca Christian Wood in a center. So yeah, I think his upside's severely cut. He'd be affected by Luca quite a bit as well.
All
On
right,
top of the rate stuff that is fairly obvious.
Let's move to Indiana, where Tyrese Halliburton got a questionable tag. Last time we saw him get a questionable tag, they downgraded him to out for 3 more games. So he's back with the questionable tag. Chris Duarte back with a questionable tag as well. What's your read on Indiana tonight?
Yeah, so there was a quote from Ricardo over the weekend saying that Chris Duarte was ahead of Halliburton, and Duarte didn't play the last game. We saw Benny Mathurin start in his spot. So that would lead me to believe that Halliburton is a little bit less likely to play than Chris Duarte is. That said, Halliburton plays through a lot of questionable tags. This injury never really sounded too severe. Certainly sounded like it was something that would be like to get Andrew Nemhard minutes. But yeah, so I think he's got a pretty good chance to start. But if not, obviously Nemhard gets to start. Curious to see how sorry, drew a blank. Ben Mathurin is used in this situation if Duarte's back. I think they may want to start him again. But yeah, kind of up in the air. I think that they would probably go Duarte because they like Ben Mathurin off the bench.
All right, let's move to Toronto, where they've been trickling in questionable tags all day. Scotty Barnes was the known questionable tag kind of coming in. Then Gary Trent Jr. and Precious Achiuwa added as questionable tags as well. What's your read on Toronto tonight?
Yeah, Scotty Barnes didn't practice. Soreness in his wrist, pretty bad sign. Looked pretty bleak. X-rays were negative, but could have some ligament issues that could hold him out. So it seems like he's a little bit closer to doubtful. We have him in projections right now. So yeah, that's a whole other thing. Obviously, if he could start and he is available, Gary Trent also questionable. with an elbow thing. He got added midday. Definitely a chance he misses. And then right down the line, we get literally hour by hour, they've been adding guys. They added Precious Achua to the injury report with hamstring tightness. That's usually a pretty bleak tag to get midday. So he's probably the second most likely to miss. I have no idea how this elbow thing is going to be affecting Trent. Haven't heard any practice stuff since he got added there. Didn't hear anything about it post game. So I think he's got maybe a decent chance to start if everyone's out. I mean, I guess Boucher. No, it wouldn't be Boucher. I mean, they might go like Will Barton or something if everyone's out. But yeah, it could be. Yeah, I think I would go with Barton if everyone's out. But I think Trent's going to play. That's a total guess though.
Yeah, messy situation for Toronto. Let's move to the Heat, which are usually a messy situation. Kyle Lowry, Caleb Martin, questionable on the injury report today. What's your expectations there for the Heat?
Kyle Lowry's pretty much fake Q. Not a back-to-back set. Not a back-to-back set. So he should be back. He's not. He's technically back. He missed the front end. He was back in the back end. So not a change in status. Caleb Martin, knee injury he's had before. That would be a kind of a big impact for how this team plays defense. The Miami Heat's defense has been kind of bad. They've been 25th in defense this month after being top 5, 6, 7 for most of the season. If he doesn't play, that's going to probably bring Victor Oladipo's role up. They use Caleb a lot for on-ball defense, so I would expect Victor Oladipo, after getting bounced, to get pushed back in to the rotation. I think that's pretty straightforward.
I need to unmute myself. Minnesota, the return of Karl Anthony Towns expected tonight, comes with more questionable tags on the injury report as usual for Minnesota. Jalen Noel, Jordan McLaughlin, Anthony Edwards. What's your read on Karl Anthony Towns' expectation in terms of minutes limitations, if any at all, and Anthony Edwards here, because those are the two big names from Minnesota?
Yeah, we're going to get a minutes cap on Cat. Definitely possibly comes off the bench. It's a pretty funky fit. We saw that fit be really bad to start the year with him and Gobert together. The Wolves couldn't get any wins together. So I wouldn't be shocked if he comes off the bench. Obviously, Kyle Anderson's played really well. Taurean Prince, it seems like Anthony Edwards, I guess to put a minutes limit, I think we got him at 23, 24, which seems about right. I think it may be lighter. Well, maybe we probably won't get any details from Chris Finch. He doesn't really share that stuff. But if he's coming off the bench, we'll probably move him down. If he's starting, we're probably not going to move him up. It's just a very odd situation. That severe setback he had in January, we've been waiting for him for months here. So, yeah. Ant seems less likely, according to Finch. So I think that Taurean Prince, coming off one of the most efficient games ever, with 8 of 8 from 3, 12 of 13 from the field for 35 to burn the Knicks, he would get the start again. Certainly not expecting him to match this performance. Hot take. But Mike Conley also would be picking up a pretty big ball handling role if Ant is out.
On to the Bulls, where Alex Caruso listed questionable. Javonte Green gets the probable tag. We did see a spurt of Javonte Green back in the mix. What are your expectations on Alex Caruso's availability tonight?
Yeah, it got ruled out pretty quick last time. He's had a lot of foot injuries. Aggravated foot injuries usually a pretty concerning thing. So could see him miss this game. I wasn't surprised to see Patrick Williams step into the starting lineup. Mentioned just adding more size against Embiid just makes a ton of sense. So yeah, but we'll keep an eye on that. Probably going to be game time overall, but pretty straightforward. I assume we wouldn't be picking up too much run. We've seen Kobe White, who actually got injured a little bit in the last game. He's fine, not an injury report, but just wanted to note that.
On the other side of that game, James Harden was awful last game in his return, 2 for 14 from the field, played 47 minutes, questionable on the injury report. Again, today has really struggled against the Bulls overall this season. What are your thoughts on James Harden's availability? And PJ Tucker also listed questionable for the 76ers.
Yeah, he's been dealing with this injury. Harden has been. We've seen him miss back-to-back games. Been dealing with this right foot thing for a little bit. Listed with an Achilles. That's a little bit more concerning. Doc Rivers said he was, quote, hurting a little bit. Harden also didn't do post-game interviews when requested. That's usually a sign he's hurt. Certainly gets the Q tag. Decent chance he misses this one. So Tucker usually plays through stuff, but he's getting ruled out pretty early. We've seen Daniel House pick up the last 2 starts. That would probably hold true. Maybe not, though. I mean, their offense was a disaster. Doc Rivers was really laying into them as the hottest offense in the NBA. They had 128 offensive rating after the break, ranked number 1 prior to this dud they put up here. But, if Harden's out, pretty straightforward. Tyrese Maxey would pick up a big piece of ball handling. D'Anthony Melton would probably start next to him, Tobias, and then Daniel House or Tucker, one of those two spots, will be filling in there. And obviously Embiid, we saw him over the weekend pick up a big ball handling role on Saturday when Harden sat that back-to-back, had I think 7 assists. So, tougher matchup against the Bulls. He's generally played pretty well against the Bulls. He has, I think I said 80-point upside. Actually, I think I said 100-point upside. Embiid could just go completely nuked today against a tough defense. Though the Bulls defense has been very legit for pretty much two and a half months.
On the returns notes, John Morant expected back tonight. Dylan Brooks suspended once again for picking up his 18th technical foul on the season. Once you get past 16, it's a suspension after every two accumulated. So he's back suspended. John Morant's return. What's your expectation on any sort of minutes cap, if any, on Ja?
Yeah, so a couple things going on here with John Morant. Let's talk about what was said. John Morant said that it's up in the air if he's going to play, but he was asked about his conditioning, and he said, how much concern did he have about being able to go in there and play a bunch? He said, quote, not much, meaning not much concern that he can go out there. He just talked about rhythm. So there was a comment from Taylor Jenkins to come off the bench as well. It feels pretty unlikely. It's possible. I mean, we've never really dealt with this situation before, so there's no precedent for how it's going to be handled. But I think he's capable of playing big minutes. So if he's out there starting in a matchup that, his season high came against the Rockets earlier this year. I remember we had a ladder on him back when I was doing ladders. We will start doing that again. But obviously, big upside against the Rockets defense. Maybe you could play the narrative however you want. But I think he could play full based on the commentary that he's able to keep his conditioning up. Didn't do a lot of stuff with the team. So the rhythm's going to be funky. So I think just it's tough to go there, but you could see a path of him completely exploding. Without Dylan Brooks, it should be David Roddy picking up the starting job. We saw him start the last time he was suspended. That also low-key helped Santi Aldama a little bit. Maybe Luke Kennard a little bit. I would expect probably a little bit more Tyus overlap. Tyus had just played too well, really not to pick up overlap with John Morant, especially in a plus matchup. But bottom line, I think it's possible. Job is full. We're baking in a pretty good amount of risk that he's not. We've got 28 minutes right now, but I wouldn't be shocked if he's out there playing pretty close to full minutes.
Other returns, Larry Markkinen upgraded from questionable to available on the latest edition of the injury report. Any limitation expectations on Lowry tonight?
No, should be good. Full practice. Back thing's kind of been bothering him. Obviously, you're going to be moving Simone Fontecchio to the bench. Ochai Agbaji would be losing a lot of just offense. They were drawing up a lot of late schemes, in a tight game against the Kings. So he would lose a little bit of upside. Taylor Horton-Tucker has been playing lights out, second in points off drives in his last 5 games, obviously to SGA. So all those guys lose a little bit in a really good matchup here. The Blazers can't stop anybody right now. Missing Jeremy Grant again. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, pretty fun game. A great game environment too. The Jazz defense has been great around the rim lately, but they're giving up a lot of stuff to ball handlers. And this is just one of the best game environments on the slate.
Why don't we stay there with that game environment then? Because Portland is going to be without Anthony Simons, without Jeremy Grant tonight. There's been talk and swirling rumors around Damian Lillard sitting as well. I thought he's not listed on the injury report. I thought Dame's season was done on Sunday when they lost again. It looks like they're giving it one more go against the Jazz tonight. I would expect if they don't win this game, that might be it for Dame. But right now, what are your expectations on what we see from the Blazers tonight?
I think he's got the week here. I think they're going to be till they're basically dead, and then because he's playing a ton, he is.
They're not that far away from basically dead.
Yeah, they're not that far. Yeah. Being officially ruled out is hard to do with this many games left. But point being, Dame's role is going to be absurd tonight. He is, I think, first or second. I think he's first in usage rates, second in scoring. SGA's passed him, so he's first in, I think, total points, 6 in minutes. He has one of the best roles in the NBA. You're removing Anthony Simons. You're keeping Jeremy Grant out. You're installing Trendon Watford. I'll talk about him in a second. They're missing bodies. You're taking out Nas Little as well. He's out with an illness. Dame might play 40 in a great game environment. Weber State homecoming narrative as well. Almost cover boyed him here just because the role is so big. That's certainly the headline there. Cam Reddish definitely going to be getting a start here, picking up the second unit ball handling as well. Really good spot for him. Could have his minutes elevated. He's a big beneficiary from no Ant Simons. Trendon Watford also low-key big without Nazir Little. I think Trendon Watford was going to start anyways, even before we got the Little news. He actually picked up a lot of Kawhi matchups, so I think it's kind of natural for him to guard Laurie. Sort of similar-ish skill set between Kawhi and Laurie. Certainly nitpick if you want, but just for how they like to get around. Obviously, Laurie's a little more downhill game than Kawhi does. But point being, I think Trendon Watford could play a ton. We saw him play a lot against Julius Randle. So these big scoring fours that like to get inside, they like to use him in that role. So Trendon Watford could play a bunch today. Nurk's minutes been pretty strong. Tough matchup. Walker Kessler just shut down Domantas Sabonis. Could have a big usage role coming his way. So pretty wide range of outcomes for Nurk. There's a comment from Chauncey Billups a couple months ago saying that against rookies, they like to go to Nurk. Now, Walker Kessler's not your typical rookie. But again, I'm really excited about this game. I was excited about the Thunder Clippers game last night, and that turned out to be great. What a great game last night.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of opportunity.
Oh, God, Beal's questionable now.
A lot of opportunity for the Portland guys for sure tonight. Let's get back to the probables and the returns. Alperen Şengün back in the mix after missing last game. Only a one-game honeymoon for Tari Eason in the starting center role. His value takes a big hit with Şengün back in the mix. What are your other expectations for the Rockets?
Yeah, no Jayshawn Tate. There was some commentary from Steven Silas saying that they want to give a longer look at Tari Eason. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them kind of wiggle their way into giving Eason more minutes. Would that mean if he gets maybe most or all of the non-Şengün center minutes? I think that's on the table. We've been seeing heavy minutes for Jabari, Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green. So I think that they want to elevate him closer to that. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Tari Eason play like upper 20s here. In a tough matchup, obviously, against a tougher interior defense. But, yeah, just reading the tea leaves there. And coming off a really impactful game, he's been playing great. He's your guy. I wouldn't be surprised to see Tari sneak in there for minutes off the bench. Again, obviously, the upside's not as much because Şengün is a bigger rates player. Certainly, just the ceiling's not as much there. But I think he's got a little bit of a floor today.
Anthony Davis back in the mix for the Lakers. He's got the probable tag on him. Any concerns there around the Lakers?
Zero. Pain-free, seeing a ton of minutes. Matchup should be pretty good. See a little bit of Biz, probably see a little bit of Ish Wainwright. We'll talk about the Suns rotation in a second. But, yeah, full minutes here. Coming off a little shaky game. But, yeah, I think he should be full-on good to go here. And maybe he could cool Austin Reeves down with a big scoring game of his own.
Warriors have Draymond Green and Kevon Looney still listed probable. Any notes around the Warriors today?
No, I don't have much to add. I wouldn't be shocked to see Jonathan Kuminga start if Luka and Kyrie are in there, getting another on-ball defender. Certainly Dante DiVincenzo is way too small to guard Luka, so that's not a Draymond Green role. That's not a Klay Thompson role. That's a Jonathan Kuminga role, which is really just showing his growth defensively and how much they've been trusting him. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them go match up and put Kuminga in there. I think Kuminga's got a really nice upside. And it's not even related to Kyrie. I think if Luka's in there, I feel it's probably Looney starting, but I think I could see really a lot of minutes from Kuminga today.
All right, let's move to Milwaukee, where no Jay Crowder, no Myers Leonard, no Goran Dragic available tonight. Huge favorites for the Bucks tonight. 18-point spread, something like that. So, what are your expectations here for the Bucks, and how deep do you think we're going to get into the rotation tonight for Milwaukee?
I mean, pretty deep. You mentioned the spread. We got the Spurs injury report, which I'll have to read when we come back to it. And we got the Hawks. We got everybody now. But yeah, man. Worst paint defense in the NBA. They give up the most at-rim points. Giannis, the king of attacking the rim. He might score like 30 in the first half. So yeah, if you want to bet Giannis overs, just bet first quarters or something. But yeah, this could get really ugly. Removing some bench depth, so that's going to help a little bit of Javon, Pat Connaughton, Joe Ingles, just a little bit. You got pretty good minutes out of the starters though. Grayson Allen really returned and picked up a normal role as well. So yeah, pretty straightforward.
All right, let's get into the Spurs. Keldon Johnson questionable, Jeremy Sohan questionable, Trey Jones ruled out, Devontae Graham ruled out, Doug McDermott ruled out, Romeo Langford ruled out. Devin Vassell is not a name that I see any notations on, so I assume that Devin Vassell is back. I assume without Trey Jones, without Devontae Graham,
Yep.
we'll see a lot more of Malachi Branham and Blake Wesley tonight. Maybe we see Sohan, maybe we see Keldon Johnson. What are your notes on the Spurs tonight?
Yeah, let me catch up here. Almost, I haven't looked at this while we were talking, so I know it's a lot of names. Let's see here. Romeo, yep, pretty much everything I was expecting. Oh, Sohan questionable. That was a surprise. Okay, so here's what's going on here. So Keldon had John Collins fall on his neck. They were kind of expecting him to play yesterday. So I think that they wanted to maybe play him yesterday, sit him today. So they basically flipped Trey Jones, who thought they were going to, not play yesterday and play today. So I think they basically flipped Trey and Keldon. So I think they're planning for Keldon to play because he's injured. It's a minor injury though. I would be surprised if Sohan plays. Knee injury, got hurt. I think he's much less likely than Keldon is. So we probably are still going to project him in, but I would be a little bit surprised if Sohan's in there. Yeah, Brandon will pick up some ball handling. We'll see if Blake Wesley can find some minutes here. Yeah, sorry, I just started thinking this through live here. Hop in if you got. Oh yeah, no Romeo. So that'll help Blake Wesley's minutes for a little bit on ball defense. Probably not going to start. KBD would probably and no
They seem
KBD on injury report too. Yeah, go ahead.
Generally thin on the wings. They'll get Zach Collins back, so they'll have Zach Collins, they'll have Sandro, they'll have Barlow, they'll have Jang, all the different center options available. But on the wings, they'd be down to Keita Bates, Giop, Branham, and Keldon if they have Keldon available. And then outside of that, like we'll see if they have Sohan, but no Langford, no McDermott. They'll have Vassell back, so they'll have Vassell as well. So Vassell, KBD, sure, Keldon, and Branham as like the four kind of wings largely.
Yeah. Yep, that sounds right. So yeah, starting lineup probably going to be Malachi, Vassell, Keldon, KBD, Collins, bench unit of Blake Wesley. Oh no, I left Trey Jones out. No, Trey Jones is out.
No, Trey Jones is out.
No, Trey Jones. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I think that's right. And then a little bit. I'm curious to see if they move Barlow, who was mostly a center early. We saw Koji Jang pick up the 11th man rotation minutes. So curious to see if he moves to more of a 4.
Him or Sandro are moving back to the 4 essentially, and then you've got Blake Wesley as the backup 1. The backup 5 would be. Sandro and Barlow are the backup 4 and 5, and then wings again. They're just a little bit thinner there, so we'll see if Sohan is available, which would give a big boost. But we should note like Keldon, Zach Collins, and Vassell. Those are 3 NBA level rotation players. So getting those 3 back into the mix, it should be a little bit more of an NBA level offense than what we saw last night with them scoring.
So you're taking the Spurs and the points, is what you're saying?
Not saying I'm taking the Spurs and the points. I'm just saying last night I was on strict fade Spurs as much as possible. Didn't really work out because Sandro was fine. KBD was fine, but fadeable. Trey Jones was good and everybody else was bad. Unfortunately, I played a little bit of Branham. Was the one guy I played. So, but a disaster last night for the Spurs. The Hawks, they filed as well, as you allude to. No DeJounte Murray tonight, still ruled out with illness. Bogdan Bogdanovic also listed as questionable with injury management, which is certainly a concern. What are your thoughts on the Hawks, who last night, relatively easy win, still brought their starters back kind of late in that game, up like 20 plus. I was sort of surprised to see that, and then see Bogdanovic now listed with an injury management tag. Not that the 3 minutes would have done much there, but what are your expectations for the Hawks tonight?
Yeah, we saw AJ Griffin sub in pretty early for Bogdan foul trouble, so that leads me to believe he's going to start. Let's see. Kind of for 1 sec, because I think the matchup situation's a little bit different here, because we heard the comment from Quinn Snyder saying it was between 3 guys starting: Bogdan, AJ Griffin, and Aaron Holiday, which we were expecting. Depends on Ant, maybe that would swing things. As I don't know if you want to put. No, you can put Hunter on him. No, I guess they probably. I feel pretty good. It's AJ Griffin starting. If Bogdan's out, he probably starts again. It's a little bit different matchup, but actually, yeah. Sorry. So I think it would be Bogdan if he can go, then AJ Griffin. Then I'd be pretty surprised if it's Aaron Holiday. A little bit more stealing could be going for Sadiq Bey. Maybe we'll see more Garrison Matthews. Not that you'd be playing him in DFS, but he got a rotation piece as well. Trey's minutes could be pretty solid here. Was garbage time as well. A little bit more minutes ceiling to DeAndre Hunter. Collins, and those guys, because they'd be pretty thin with high end talent after the starters there, the 4 starters.
Yeah. All right. You mentioned the Suns in the notes here. No DeAndre Ayton again. You mentioned in our Slack some comments around Terrence Ross that suggest maybe some rotation changes for the Suns. So, what do you want to cover for the Suns tonight?
Yeah, so I think Bismack's going to start, but they really like Ish Wainwright as a center. We saw Ish Wainwright play a lot of important center minutes for them last year. So point is, don't play Bismack Biyombo today. I would not play Jock Landale today. You're probably not going to be looking to play Ish Wainwright, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Ish Wainwright pick up like 20 minutes. We also saw a little bit of Darius Baisley at the center spot. So they basically used 4 centers against OKC. That was largely because OKC went super tiny, I think, and perhaps a little revenge as well. But yeah, a little up in there in the center spot. But bottom line, I'm expecting Ish Wainwright to pick up maybe 7-8 center minutes, maybe more. We're not projecting it that way, but certainly could just throw a big wrench. I mean, if you're playing 4 centers, it's pretty nasty. But yeah, wings. We saw Landry Shamet come in there. I thought he made a pretty big impact. They like his defense a lot. They really rely on that role. So you can replace Terrence Ross's shooting with Shamet. You don't got to worry about the bad defense. He had 2 terrible fouls that, there was a comment from Monty Williams talking about basically describing how Terrence Ross was fouling so much and making mistakes. So I read that as like, Terrence Ross's minutes could be really shaky here. So, maybe Shamet, if he's like 3K or something like that, and you're looking for cheap options, there should be plenty of them, all these Q tags. But point is, I think Shamet, who's going to be on minutes limit, so maybe we might not get him at 24, but I could see them tightening up. Really huge game here, man. I mean, they got to win this game. So, and also Devin Booker, just free reign on usage. We like to attack primary ball handlers against the Lakers. Lakers paint defense has been absurd. One of the best paint defenses. Who cares about that for Devin Booker? So I expect a ton of Booker, both minutes and usage. Like the matchup, cover boy, get the overs in. And yeah, I should note too, Okogie minutes got cut. Foul trouble related.
Yeah, he was in foul trouble.
But didn't really come back in when they could have used him. That was a little surprising to me.
Yeah,
anyways, I expect them to play a lot.
I think they might have gotten stuck into the OKC shenanigans here. I mean, they played 12 guys. Like I think some of this was just like, hey, we're going to respond to OKC doing the mix and matching stuff, and we're going to do that as well. And so you got into some weird small ball lineups. The game before they had played a lot tighter, so will be interesting to see. They're certainly going to piecemeal that center spot together. They're not super comfortable with Biyombo or Landale playing heavy minutes, and they'd rather go small. So it'll be very interesting to see. But a 12-man rotation, anytime you see that, for me is like, oh God, here we go. So even if they cut down Terrence Ross, great. Like now we're at 11, maybe 10. Like, I just like need to see 9s and 8s. 9s and 8s are what I'm about this time of the year.
I could see Landale getting cut entirely. My alarm just went off. So I keep an eye on that. This is leadership council season, man. Like everyone's out there playing.
Yeah. All right. And then you had notes on the Nuggets potential rotation changes in the second unit. What do you want to share with the people there?
Yeah, so there was a comment from Mike Malone. Let me get the exact quote here. He said that they were giving Thomas Bryant and Reggie Jackson, quote, an honest look, which is coach speak for saying, hey, we got these guys. Let's give them a shot. Oh, they suck. Let's get them the hell out of there. So Zeke Naji's back. Wouldn't be surprised to see Zeke Naji pick up all the non-Jokic minutes. They like Christian Brown as well. So wouldn't be surprised to see these new pieces that they picked up just be basically useless.
As is usually the case in the buyout market. Guys you acquire are basically useless. All right, we got through it all. 10 games.
We did not actually.
We did not. What did we
Bradley
miss?
Bradley Beal downgraded.
Bradley
while we
Beal
were talking.
Bradley Beal questionable now. Kyle Kuzma out. Second night of a back-to-back here for the Wizards, who are falling precipitously in the standings. Another bad loss last night. They're now 2.5 games back of Chicago for the 10th spot in the play-in. The midday Q tag, never a good sign for Bradley Beal. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, knee soreness on a B2B for a guy who's been playing a lot of minutes. Definitely chance he misses. Don't have a great read on the situation other than the obvious stuff. But if he's out, certainly Denny obvious season, big minutes off the bench. We thought that was going to happen against some bigger-ish wings on the Magic side. So, yeah, he would almost certainly be starting here. So a starting lineup of Monty, Corey Kispert, Denny Abdia, Porzingis, and Gafford. Maybe hopefully they don't add Porzingis later with a lot of these things that are just getting added like crazy today. But yeah, pretty straightforward. Probably a little more DeLon overlap. I think they're going to need him more. As you mentioned, things are getting pretty tight here for the Wizards, just dropping all these games.
Yeah. All right. Now we've officially covered anything. As always, support the people who are supporting us. The show is brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. They have daily NBA snake drafts for money, running in addition to many formats of NFL contests, playoff NBA contests, MLB seasonal contests, golf, the Albatross, the Majors contest. If you're playing NBA Pick'em, in-season subscribers can use our tool to compare ETR projections to their fantasy Pick'em games. If you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, use promo code ETR for a matching deposit bonus up to $100. That's promo code ETR at underdogfantasy.com. All right, myself and Gary Hartman will be behind the paywall today at 5 o'clock Eastern time, breaking down this 10-game slate from a DFS perspective, talking about the good chalk, the bad chalk, the contrarian pivots, the groups and rules for optimizers, and of course, the flag plants. Unlikely we have enough time to take strategy questions today, but feel free to fire away during the 10-game slate, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. Join us there, 5 o'clock Eastern, establish a show behind the paywall. If you are uninterested in giving us your hard-earned dollars, we do ask for your hard-earned clicks. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, get notifications whenever we go live. And of course, smash that like button and feed that algorithm. You feed the algorithm, it helps us feed our families, and we can feed you the great injury analysis and information around the NBA slates each Monday through Friday that help you set your DFS lineups, make your prop bets, and your spread bets. Nom, 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 nom. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody.